Welcome to Keep Fit with Kim. I'm Kim and today I have a 60-minute Pilates class for you. All you need for this workout is somewhere soft to work out. Could be a Pilates mat or the carpet. Can you also grab yourself a small hand towel? You're going to use this under your neck to support your neck in a couple of the exercises. And if you know you've got tight hamstrings, try and grab a cushion, or if you've got one, a small Pilates yoga block. If you can grab those items, we'll get ready to start the class. I'd like you to start by putting your feet hip width apart. So feet together, toes out, heels out, so that the centre of your hips is in line with the centre of your knees, in line with the centre of the ankles. And then think about your posture. I'm going to get you to tip your pelvis under. Engage your core, so pulling the belly button back against the spine. Tighten just above the knees. Just watch you're not standing forward on your hips. Weight should be coming down through the body, through the legs and into your heels. The weight is more in the heels than in the toes. Taking the shoulders back, relaxed and down. Fingertips in line with the seam of your trousers. And all I want you to do is gently come forward onto your toes and then move back onto your heels. So feeling how the weight moves in your hips and in your knees as you move. Spread your toes if you need to help with your balance. Both feet should be pointing forwards, but try and keep that head up. Don't look down at the floor. Retract the chin. We want the head to be directly above the spine, taking pressure off the neck. Keep breathing all the time, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Okay, coming back to centre, so the weight feels fairly even across the feet and from side to side. Now I'm going to get you to shift the weight into your right leg. Come back centre, keep that core engaged and coming across to the left hand side. Lovely. And again across to the right and back to the left. And become aware again of how that feels in your pelvis, in your hips, in your knees and in your feet. The weight should be evenly distributed between each leg. Okay, engaging that core again. I want you to move with the breath. So as you breathe out, you're going to let the arm float as high as is comfortable. Doesn't have to be as high as me. And you're going to move with your breath. So breathing out as you lift the arm in a float, breathing out as you allow it to return to the side of your body, to the side of your body even. Okay, breathing out, breathing in. Try and lengthen the breath and strengthen the breath. Keep those arms moving. It's not a reach, it's a gentle float. Keep those arms moving. And what I want you to be sure is that you're breathing into the back of the rib cage and that your rib cage is expanding rather than a shallow breath. Keep that breath long and strong. You won't be moving in time with me, you move in time with your own breath. I'm going to change that movement. Next time your left arm comes down, join me. Arms are going to go across in front and float up. Try and keep the shoulders dropped. This is just about getting some warm up, a bit of warming up through the body. Breathing out as you lift, in as you return. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So out as you lift, in as you return. once more, and as the arms come down to the side next time, we're going to change the movement. So hold the arms out to the side for me. Okay, palms are facing the floor, and as they come forward, I want you to tilt the little fingers forward so they're touching at the front. And as you go back, taking the thumbs back. Now, as you're doing this exercise, make sure it's only the arms you're moving. I'm going to move out a little bit. I'm struggling with the wall here. Watch you not lifting your chest. And try and keep your arms at shoulder height if you can. If that's not comfortable, taking them lower is fine, but we're trying to keep them in line. Beautiful. Taking the arms down by the side of your body. A little lateral bend. So we're going to come down, let that hand slide down towards the knee. Think as if you're between two thin panes of glass, so your body stays in alignment. Try and just keep the head where it is. If you want to lift the other elbow up, you can. If you want to let that arm slide away from the body slightly, you can. But again, it's not a reach, just a gentle side bend, still a warm up. Try and keep that head in line. Beautiful. Breathing out as you go down. In as you come back up. Out as you go down. In as you come back up. One more each side. When we come to the top, I want you to take your hands one on top of the other. And from here, I'm going to ask you to bend your knees slightly. Engage your core, and you're going to try and keep your hips pointing forward. They'll probably move, but if you can try and keep them where they are. And you're just going to twist the upper body. You can take your head with you. Doesn't matter how far you go. This is getting some rotation in the spine. If you bend your knees slightly, it will help you to keep those hips facing forward. Again, you're trying to keep the elbows pointing forward. It's not about how far the arms go. This is all about getting your spine to rotate. Nice and gently. Last one. Come back center, and I'm going to ask you to warm up through your hips. So you can just do general hip circles one way and the other, or if you're able and your body likes this movement, try a figure of 8 with your hips. So pushing one hip forward, circling round and back. But if that is uncomfortable, stick with hip circles in one direction for a few and change to the other direction. Let your knees move, let your feet go from side to side on the mat. And coming back, bringing the feet back to hip width apart. So again, watch they're not too wide. Quite often I see people with their feet this far out. I want them to be hip width apart. If you're unsure, feet together, toes out, heels out, and engage the core. We're going to alternate legs. You're going to go forward, back, forward, and change. Try not to take the leg too far behind, and you are going to need to bend the leg that you're moving slightly. If you want, you can take the leg all the way up behind you. Use the arms for balance and try and keep the pelvis stable so that you're not hitching your hip up and you're not letting it drop. Bend the leg that is moving as much as you need to. If your balance is not so good, you can keep that toe on the floor all the time. If your balance is better, try not to put the foot down until you come to change legs. Leg circle, one leg at a time, trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible. The slower you make this movement, the harder it is. You may keep your foot just skimming the mat the whole time to help with your balance. If you put your hands on your pelvis, you'll feel what's happening. Is it wobbling? If you find that you're really stable, you can take that toe off the floor and make the movement bigger. But try and keep it under control. It's more important to keep the pelvis stable, engage your core and keep breathing than it is to take the leg higher. Coming to the other side, you can stay facing forward. I've just turned so you can see exactly what I'm doing. The slower well done. Just give the shoulders a little bit of a circle to release them and bring the feet back to hip width. Starting with your feet hip width apart, weight evenly in both feet. Bring one foot forward and if you can, bring the heel of the front foot in line with the toes and keep both feet pointing forward. Now if that's too much, take the front foot slightly forward and maybe out to the side a little. And the idea here is to be almost in balance. So if you find you're really wobbling, you can go out a little bit. I'm not asking you to be totally stationary here. And we change and do exactly the same on the other side. If you find you're totally stable here, I look fairly stable in that one, you can close your eyes. I wasn't going to do that one. I know if I close my eyes I would fall over. So just get yourself in a position where you can feel all the muscles in your hips and thighs working hard. From here, we're going to go into a Pilates roll down. I'm going to turn to the side. Thinking about your posture again, feet are still hip width apart. Tuck your chin to your chest, and you're going to roll down one vertebrae at a time, sliding the hands down the legs, and go as far as is comfortable. If it's as far as your knees, that's fine. If you can go further, carry on down. Breathing out as you go down and in as you come back up. When you get to the top, reset the shoulders. Breathe in and breathe out again. And as you come down the last time, I'd like you to come down onto the floor. So, grabbing your towel or something else just to keep your neck comfortable, we're going to stick this towel, it's going to be between the arm and your head, just to keep your neck in alignment when you lie down. And I'm going to ask you to line yourself up. So if you can have the arm comfortably out straight, that's great. If not, adjust it so you're comfortable, keeping the head in line. The neck should be relaxed, so get your neck in a relaxed position first. Now I want the back of your head, the back of your hips and your feet to be in alignment, and your knees coming forward. The feet are stacked, the knees are stacked, the hips are stacked, and we're going to really watch in this exercise that we don't allow the hip to rock back. So you can either take your hand in front of you, take it behind you so you can feel, put it on the top of your hip, or my preferred is just to rest my elbow gently on my hip so I can feel what's going on. And we're going to start by lifting and lowering that knee. And your small movement, the clam or oyster. And you're going to feel this work out in the back here, just at the top of the hip, back of the hip, side of the buttocks. And remember with these exercises, if you've had enough, stop and rest and bring the leg in front. If you can, we're going to do 8 of these. And that's 8. Now you can stick with that, you can stop, or you can move on now. Floating the feet off the floor, and exactly the same movement, a little bit more intense in this position. Remember, only do as many as you're comfortable doing. If you want to go back to a previous version, that's fine. And again, if you can do 8, do 8. If you can do 4, do 4. Breathing out as you lift and in as you come down. The slower you do it, the harder it is. So try and slow it down if you want to make it that little bit harder. Okay, that is your 8. Next time when you lift the leg, I want you to take that foot forward so the knee stays where it is. Take it in and back down. Again, if you've had enough now, rest down. You can either join back in or just use this time to relax and breathe. And I tend to do 4 of these. By now the muscle here is beginning to feel a little bit tight. That's 3. And that's 4. Rest the feet down. Take that leg across and give it a little bit of a rub. Well done. I'm going to ask you to watch this exercise quickly before you roll onto your front. You can use a towel or move it out the way. What we're going to do is come onto your front with the legs and arms about the width of the mat, looking down towards the mat. Now you can lift and lower the head, or you can keep the head on your towel if you wish. And you're going to reach away, opposite arm and leg. Try and pull your abdominals, your tummy away from the mat, so engage your core. And you're going to feel this in your lower back and in your buttocks. Breathing out as you lift slightly and reach away diagonally across the body. So think more about reaching across diagonally than lifting very high. It's not a high lift. And try and really squeeze your buttocks as you lift and lower. And again, if you find your back is beginning to ache on this, come back into child's pose or cat and cow and just release your back. And release. Underneath your shoulders, coming back. So again, you can either come back into child's pose and hold it and stretch your lower back, or if you prefer, arch and lower. Okay, grabbing your towel and turning round to the other side. You probably want to keep facing the camera. Okay, towel again underneath the arm. You want to get your head comfortable first. Put that between your neck, under your neck, between your neck and your arm. If you need to adjust the hand, it needs to be comfortable. Try and keep that head back. Nice straight line from your head to your buttocks, to your feet. Knees are bent forward. Have a look at the angle before we start. And again, I like to put my elbow on my shoulder, on my hip, so I can feel that this hip isn't dropping back as we lift and lower. Exactly the same as last time. 8, breathing out as you lift, in as you lower. The slower you do it, the harder it is. Try and lengthen and strengthen the breath. If you need to stop, just concentrate on breathing and relaxing. That was 8. I'm going to float the feet now. So remember again, you're going to do the same on this side as you did on the other. So if you stopped there on the first side, it's best to stop here on the second side. We're trying to keep everything evenly on both sides. Breathing out as you lift. In as you return, keeping the hips stacked, keeping the shoulders stacked, keeping the neck relaxed. And then, if you wish, you can join in the next movement. We're going to do just 4 of these, coming forward, touching the heels, and down. You don't have to do these if this is too much. Again, bring the leg forward like you did last time at the end and relax. Breathing out. Last one. Drop the feet, take the leg forward, give it a little bit of a rub or a slap if you want, just to release through. Let's come back onto all fours, stretch back into child's pose. And if you drop the elbows to the floor, you're going to feel a nice stretch through the upper back as well. You can take the knees a little bit wider and drop the chest in between if you like, and just breathe and enjoy the stretch. If that's uncomfortable on your knees, then by all means come up, cat and cow, on fists if you need to. Make it your workout, adapt as you need to. Okay, coming onto all fours. If you have trouble with your wrists, then I'd suggest that you refold your towel to give yourself something that you can lean on to take that pressure away, to allow the hands go down. Or you can come onto your fists, whatever's comfortable for you. I'm going to move that away. I want your hands, your wrists to be directly under your shoulders. I want your knees directly underneath your hips. So I'm going to suggest you watch this sitting before you start the exercise, because I don't want you straining your neck in this one. Try and keep the neck in alignment. You take the neck up, you're putting a lot of pressure on the bones in the back of the neck, but also if you're like me and you have a tendency to arch your back, a tendency to lordosis, you're going to find that you're going to arch your back more than you need to for this one. So coming into this position, weight is evenly between the hands and the knees. So you could be on your fist, you could be on the mat. And we're just going to start with leg slides. So just watch for a moment. We're going to slide the leg away. Toe is on the floor if you notice. I'm not lifting that off the floor and I'm sliding it back. I'm trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible. This one's more about pelvic stability than anything else. So for now, keep the foot on the floor, sliding that leg away. Don't start yet. Then I'm going to take you into arm floats. This is about keeping your upper body weight stable, and you're trying to keep the weight evenly between the two knees and the arm. Doesn't matter how far your arm comes forward, it can be a little cat paddy paw. And then when I say, we'll add it to both. And when we come to both, you can take the arm up in alignment. Try and keep the abdominals engaged. So if you'd like to join me now, we will start with the main exercise. So leg slides, weight is evenly. Watch you're not leaning too far back. Make sure there's sufficient weight distance between the hands and the knees. And you're trying to keep that lower back as still as possible. Think of sliding the leg along the floor and back in, rather than lifting. Slide and lift. Slide. Anytime you need to rest, if it's hurting your arms or your wrists, just have a rest back. Sit back, go into child's pose, circle your wrists, whatever you need to do, and join back in when you're ready. Okay, from here, let's go to the arms now. Floating the arms and back down. Other arm, breathing out as you lift away from the body. It's a float rather than a reach. Again, the weight should be evenly between the hand that's on the mat and the two knees. You're not leaning back into the legs as you do this. Breathing out as you lift, as you float, in as you come back. Okay. Keeping those abdominals engaged, let's add opposite arm and leg. And this time you can lift just to a straight line. Try not to lift this too high. Again, you're sliding along the mat and then lifting up in line, touching the toe down and sliding back in. So you're trying to just move the legs and keep the hips and the shoulder girdle stationary. It's not going to happen, but that's what you're aiming to do. I'm going to ask you to do a few more if you wish, if you've had enough. Stretch back into child's pose. Reaching the arms as far forward as possible, stretch through the lower back and then drop the elbows to the floor. But join me in this when you're ready, when you've had enough. Taking the head to the floor. Open the knees out if you wish. Okay, coming back up to sitting. Sliding your legs through so your legs are out in front of you. Nice straight legs, hip width apart, sitting upright. Okay, now again, I'm sitting upright. My posture means I can comfortably. If you struggle with that, if you find that you're dropping your back down or you're leaning back, again, you can grab your towel, or if you've got one, even better, a block or a thicker block, whichever you need, whatever you need to put yourself in the right position. Or a cushion will do too. So sitting on something that allows you to sit upright, feet hip width apart, and we're going to do a little bit here for flexibility for the hamstrings, so a little bit of a stretch. Legs are straight, body's upright. I like to take my arms to the side so that I'm keeping my neck and shoulders relaxed. Keep that chin retracted. Avoid coming forward. It's not about how far forward you can come. It's about getting a stretch in the back of the legs. If that's still uncomfortable on your back, bend your knees slightly. But you should still feel the stretch in the back of the knees, and ideally those legs are straight. Have a look down, just check. Is the centre of your hips and knees and ankles in alignment? Have you let your feet drop out? If you have, bring them back in alignment. If you also gently flex your feet so that your heels are on the mat, you're going to get a bit of a stretch in your calf as well. So taking the arms to the side, sit tall, keeping the chin retracted. Try to fold forward from the waist. You might not move at all. You might move half an inch. But as far as is comfortable, until you start feeling that stretch in the back of the legs. If your lower back is tight, you're also going to feel that here. If it's too much, ease back. This should be a comfortable stretch. A comfortable stretch. Hold that for a moment. Okay. Now, taking the arms slightly behind you, comfortably, it doesn't matter which way your hands are facing as long as it's comfortable, just a slight bend back, and we're going to work the hip flexors. You may find this in the top of your knees, although this is actually a movement in the hip flexor, because your knees are having to hold your lower legs up, those of you with weakness in your knees are going to find this here. So some of us will feel it in our hips, some of us in our legs, and I'm going to ask you to lift your right leg off the floor and hold. As long as you comfortably can. When you've had enough, gently place it down. So don't hold it too long, just hold it as long as you comfortably can. And still place it on the floor with control. And take it down. Okay. This time we're going to go lift, gently lower halfway down and down. Lift, pulse, lift and down. So that you know, the further back you lean, the easier it is. Keeping the foot softly pointed. Legs should be straight. Now, if you're finding that it's too easy, sit upright a little bit more. It's not about how high you lift the leg. It doesn't matter if it's only an inch or 2 inches off the floor. If you're here, you're going to find it a lot harder. In. Last one. In, out, in, and rest. Okay, you might want to hug your knees into the chest. I quite like here, take my legs a little bit wider. I'll turn so that you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. And just round down and stretch through your lower back. If that's not what feels good for you, do something that feels good just to release that. And I'm going to ask you now to do a totally different exercise, totally new exercise to you. We're going to come onto our elbows at the back. You need to be comfortable. Now, if you want to lie all the way down, you can, but it will make the exercise that little bit harder. And I'm going to ask you to bring your knee into the chest. You're going to take it up in line with the other leg. Drop the leg down, up, in, and down. Change sides. In line, in, and out. Breathe. out, in, out, in. Breathing out, in, out. And you're going to do it more slowly. So now you've got the movement, do it with your breath. Breathing out, in, out, in, breathing out, change sides. Now, if you've taken this down, if you've come off your shoulders, then really be aware of what's going on with your lower back. Ensure you're engaging your core. Last one. And rest. Again here. Let's just stretch out through those shoulders because that's quite tight on my neck. So I'm going to pull the arms forward. I've got the hands one on top of the other. You can clasp them if you wish. I prefer to just wrap my hands one on top and use my thumbs. Takes less pressure on the finger joints. Take the hands away from you as far as you can comfortably get them. Then, while that's tight, pull the elbows out to the side and drop your head down. You're going to feel a lovely stretch in the upper back. Try and keep the feet and knees hip width apart and stop your knees from dropping out. Okay, and release. And shoulders back. Feet are flat on the floor now, and we're going to do a roll back. So you've got a choice here. You can put your hands on your knees. You can grab the backs of your legs if you need to. Ideally, I'd like you to take your arms out in front, and we're going to do a half roll back. So breathe in, engage your core, and as you breathe out, you're going to roll back as far as you can comfortably. Doesn't matter if it's not this far. Breathing in as you come up. Now, as you do this, look at your knees. See what's happening. You're keeping the feet on the floor. If the feet come off the floor, you've lost control. So make it smaller. It doesn't matter if you're only coming to here. You should be feeling it in your abdominals and your tummy. If you need to hold the knees, that's fine. So you can slide the hands down the legs or clasp the legs and just give yourself a bit of a help there. But watch what's happening with those knees. You're really trying to control. If you need to, you can put your towel or a block or a cushion between your knees, but you're trying to keep your feet and knees hip width apart throughout this exercise. Again, when you've had enough on this exercise, I'm going to ask you to roll all the way down. You can do a few more if you wish. And bring the knees in one at a time to your chest. Hug them in. If it feels good, give it a little bit of a rock from side to side or a little circle with the knees just to release your lower back. Okay, placing the feet one at a time back down on the mat. Hands out to the side. Okay, so we're going to work on a little bit of lower body mobility now. So I'm going to ask you to take your feet hip width apart. Keep the hands out to the side, out of the way, comfortably. It doesn't really matter which way up they are, as long as they're comfortable. Make sure you've got a neutral spine, so you've got a natural curve of the back. Your pelvis should be as flat as possible. If you put your hands on the bony protrusions on the top of your hips and take them down, that triangle should be in alignment. It shouldn't be tipped back and it shouldn't be tipped the other way. Try and keep the upper body still, and you're just going to take your knees over to one side. Try and keep this hip on the floor. Does tend to want to lift as you do this. You're going to get a little bit of stretch through the legs and a small amount of movement in the lower back. So just getting some mobility in the hip joints. And with this, you're going to breathe out as the knees go down towards the floor. Breathe in as they come up towards the centre. Gently pause. Try not to let the legs just swing from side to side. There's a definite pause at the top. The feet are about the width of your mat. Okay, bring the feet back so that they are touching. Feet and knees are touching, keep them together. Now this is one to be a little bit cautious if you've got osteoporosis. You might want to keep both feet on the floor and just be aware of what's going on with your back here, because this is a rotational movement with the weight of your legs. But those that don't have any issues with osteoporosis, you can lift the top foot off the floor, keep the feet in steps together and let those knees go across to the side. And this time you're going to lift the hips off the ground, you're going to keep the shoulders down. Breathing in as you come back to centre, and breathing out as you go down to the other side. So this is getting some mobility in the lower spine. Breathing in as you come back up. Again, a definite pause at the top. Let both feet come to the floor before you start to move to the other side. Breathing out as you go down. In as you come back up. Beautiful. Now in and out and in. Okay. Bringing the feet back together. Now you want to take your feet hip width apart. So if you remember, toes out, heels out, should be about right. Feet are flat on the floor. Feet are nicely relaxed. And I'm going to ask you to bring your right knee into your chest. Now with this exercise, I want you to really ensure that you have your neutral spine. So you've not pushed your back into the mat. Try and keep that pelvis in neutral spine. You're keeping the foot on the floor and you're trying to avoid letting that knee drop out. So control the leg that's on the floor. Now, take your hands gently to either side of your thighs and straighten that leg up towards the ceiling. Now I can take mine up straight. Some of you aren't going to be able to. I don't want the leg to be all the way out there. Again, be really aware of what's going on with your lower back and your pelvis. Bring the leg in as close as you need to get the stretch in the back of the hamstring. So I want you to feel the stretch in the back of this leg, but I want the weight of that leg to be over your body. So your foot should be over your bottom. So you might find you're in this sort of position. And just hold that stretch so that you're feeling the stretch down the back of that leg. Okay, I'm going to bend mine so that it's a little more realistic. Now, taking your left hand onto your left leg so that you can feel what's going on, your right hand onto the floor, I'm going to ask you to circle from the hip. So keep the ankle still, keep the knee still, and you're going to circle. But engage your core, keep breathing throughout. I'm going to do about 4 in one direction and go back the other way. Now by putting your left hand on your left thigh, you're going to feel if that other leg is moving. Now you can push the left heel into the mat, which will help to engage your core. Keep breathing. Change directions, fall back in the first direction. Nice and slow. The slower you do it, the better. Think of drawing a circle on the ceiling with that toe, with your big toe. And back in the other direction. Knee back into the chest, drop the foot to the floor. Let's change legs. So again, hugging the knee into the chest. Gently grab the thigh, either side of the leg. Try not to pull on the back of the thigh where your hamstring is, otherwise you're going to restrict the movement, and you're going to push that foot up towards the floor. You can flex the foot if you want, but gently pointed is fine. If your leg will go straight and if you can hold it higher, that's great. But if you need to keep that knee slightly bent, that's fine too. I want the ankle to be above your hip joint, so the weight of the leg is over your body. Become aware of what's going on with your lower back. Watch you've not rounded your back, pushed your back into the mat, but also watch that the leg's not so far away that the back is arching up. Okay, enjoy the stretch. So if it's too much of a stretch, bend the knee slightly. I want you to be feeling a stretch in your hamstring to help him with the flexibility. Again, be aware of your lower back. You're going to take your right hand onto your right thigh, your left hand to the side out the way, and we're going to go with those circles again. So you're circling from the hip, the knee stays still, and you're drawing a circle on the sky, on the ceiling with your big toe. Around 4 in one direction before you change direction. And again, come back, bring your awareness back to what's going on with your lower back, and also be aware of whether or not your right leg is moving. If it is, maybe push your right heel into the mat. Let's change directions. Lovely. And change back to the other direction. Last time back the other way. I hope you're counting, because I've lost count. But in total about 8 in each direction. We're trying to always do the same amount on the left side as we do on the right, trying to keep things as even as possible. Okay, hugging that knee back into the chest and release it down. Now I'm going to get you to keep your feet hip width apart, take the arms out to the side, keeping the shoulders down, and just let both knees drop to one side. Again, if you've got osteoporosis and this feels too much on your lower back, don't take it as far. Maybe keep your feet and knees together, feet on the floor. This should be helping to just loosen through the back if there's any tension there after this exercise. Taking it to the other side. Okay, bring the feet close to your bottom this time, so as close as you can comfortably get them. And we're going to work on our glutes, on our bottoms this time. I'm going to give you a couple of options. I want you to start by squeezing your buttocks and lifting the hip up. As high as is comfortable, feeling the stretch through the hip flexors, so through the top here. Keep those knees together or hip width apart, try and avoid them splaying open. Breathing out as you come down. Release the spine. Squeeze the buttocks, breathing out as you roll up. And in as you roll back down. Now you can stay with that. Once you've had enough, you can hug your knees into the chest if you want to. Those that want to make it a little harder, you're going to squeeze the buttocks. Breathing out as you lift. Breathing in as you float the arms above the head. Breathing in as you bring the arms back down. So again, be aware of what's going on with your lower body here. Roll it back down. You're trying to keep those knees as stable as possible. So absolutely fine if you want to, if you prefer to put a cushion between your knees or a ball or a block. Whatever you've got to hand, or a tracksuit top, jumper, whatever you've got to hand. Squeeze the buttocks, lift. So you can just stay with the lift and lower if you wish, but you're going to try and add an arm float. Bring it down. and release. So it's a 4 count with the breath. You're going to hold it up there a little bit longer, working those buttock muscles. I like to arch my back as I come out of this, just to help release my lower back and the top of your buttocks. So squeezing tight, breathing out as you lift, breathing in as the arms float over. Keep the knees in line. And on the next breath, you're going to come down and release. If you can manage a couple more, do. If you've had enough, hug your knees into the chest. Give your lower back a little bit of a massage. Okay, now keep this small. It's quite an advanced exercise if we do it in the full version, but we're going to do a smaller range of motion. Cross your ankles and take your legs up in the air. Now, if you can take them nice and straight and not feel it on your lower back, great. If you need to bend your knees in tighter to your body, that's fine. But keep the weight over your body. If you find your back is coming away, take your hands one on top of the other and place them underneath your bottom and just tuck it. So on this occasion, if that is happening, if you feel that your back is arching away because your legs are a little bit further away from your body, let your lower back round into the ground on this occasion. Feet together. In fact, let's not cross the ankles, let's keep them together. And we're going to do little circles. Now, the full exercise of this is a corkscrew, is quite advanced, and you take the legs quite a long way away from the body. But we're trying to do a double circle. You're going to feel it in your tummy. Try and keep it slow. If you're able to take it a little bit bigger, do, but really make sure it's under control. Taking the legs back in the other direction. Bringing the knees back into the chest. Feet one at a time back onto the mat. Taking your arms above your head. Engage your core. Try and bring your rib cage down. Keeping the feet on the ground, and if you can, we're going to roll up. If you need to bring your knees up in order to do that, fine. We're going to try and roll up one vertebra at a time, coming up to sitting. Okay, from there we're going to come round to face the front, if you're not already there. Feet hip width apart. You may want to sit on a block, towel or cushion to keep your back upright, so really be aware of what's going on your lower back here. And I'm going to ask you to just hip walk slightly back so that you're sitting forward on your sit bones, and you're going to feel it in the back of the knees, back of the legs, hamstring stretch. If you want to extend it into your calves, you can just lift the feet so the heels are on the ground, softly flexed. If you need to, you can lean back slightly. Try and keep that back in its neutral position, shoulders relaxed. Those of you that can, in order to extend the stretch, can fold forward from the waist, but keep that chin retracted, head and upper body relaxed. This is all about the legs, the hamstrings again. Okay, we're not going to hold that very long this time, but keep the right leg straight, left knee comes in. Take the foot over, right hand hugs the leg, so you're pulling in to get a stretch here. Other hand comes close behind the bottom, pull your shoulder back, your left shoulder back, and let the head gently follow. Okay, hold that for a moment more. And then keeping that foot planted well on the ground, you're going to bring the hand to the inside and use this as resistance to get a spinal rotation. Taking the other hand close behind the back and gently looking over your right shoulder. For the next stretch, those that can, that don't have dodgy knees, you're going to grab hold of that foot and take it in front and sit in this position. Exactly the same. You might be on your block, you might be leaning back. You're going to fold from the waist. You're going to keep the head with the chin retracted, neck relaxed, and fold forward from the waist. Or those that find that really uncomfortable can sit with wide legs, exactly the same thing. You might want to hip walk back slightly and come forward. Now again, I can put my hands in front comfortably without rounding forward, but keep those shoulders back, so possibly take the arms behind, and you're going to feel that stretch on the inner thigh. You're not going to get the same stretch in this area as you would with the legs bent. Okay. Unwinding, taking the legs out straight in front. This time, the left leg stays straight. This leg comes over. Adjust it so it's comfortable, foot's flat on the floor. Left hand hugs in. You're going to feel that stretch. And look over the shoulder, gently turning the head. Nice spinal rotation. And taking it to the other side, keeping that foot planted on the floor. Arm comes on the inside, you can keep it up or grab the ankle, hand close to the body. Take the shoulder back and let the head gently follow. And you're going to keep your hand on this foot, lift it up, and this foot goes in front, so your right foot is in front of left. If you got it the opposite way around last time, make sure you change because you'll get a different stretch. You want to stretch both sides of the body evenly. You might be sitting on your block. Hip walk back slightly, sit tall, and ease forward. Again, those that can't comfortably do this can go into your wide stretch. Try and keep that head chin retracted and that head relaxed, shoulders down. You might want to take the arms behind or to the side, or just rest them on your knees. And I'm going to do one last stretch for those that can. Inner thigh stretch. Soles of the feet go together and let the knees drop down. So if that's not comfortable, you can stay in your wide V-sit. You can support the legs. Or that's all for now. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.